Imagine crossing open grassland, when someone suddenly spots a large predator crouching behind the tall grass and watching your group from a distance. There are no guns, fences, vehicles, or rescue teams, and the nearest safe shelter may be several hours away. For most of human history, ancient humans shared their world with animals that were faster, stronger, and equipped with claws, teeth, or crushing jaws. Lions, leopards, hyenas, bears, wolves, crocodiles, snakes, and other dangerous animals threatened people in different environments. A surprise attack could happen near water, beside a carcass, inside thick vegetation, or during the darkness beyond the campfire. Ancient humans were not the largest predators in their world, and a single unarmed person had little chance against a determined animal. So how did a physically weaker species survive in landscapes filled with creatures designed to kill? The answer was not greater strength, because humans survived by combining observation, cooperation, weapons, fire, and organized reactions. Most dangerous encounters began long before an animal attacked, when people first noticed tracks, smells, sounds, or unusual behavior nearby. Ancient humans learned that avoiding an attack was safer than trying to defeat a powerful animal after it had already charged. Before entering tall grass or thick forest, experienced members searched for fresh footprints, droppings, fur, bones, and broken vegetation. A strong animal smell carried by the wind could reveal a predator hidden beyond rocks or trees before anyone saw it. Birds and small animals also gave warnings, because sudden alarm calls often meant that something dangerous was moving nearby. When grazing animals stared toward one location or began running together, ancient humans knew they should become alert immediately. Fresh carcasses were approached carefully because the predator that made the kill might still be resting or watching from nearby cover. Riverbanks were especially dangerous, since crocodiles and other animals could attack before a person had time to recognize the threat. Caves offered shelter, but entering an unfamiliar cave could mean walking directly into the resting place of a bear, large cat, or snake. Ancient humans therefore used sticks, stones, smoke, and sound to test hidden spaces before bringing the entire group closer. At night, people listened for footsteps, growls, breaking branches, and the sudden silence of animals around the camp. The fire gave some protection, but darkness still allowed predators to watch from places human eyes could not reach. Children, injured people, and older members were usually kept near the center of the group when traveling through dangerous territory. Stronger adults moved around the outside, carrying spears, stones, burning branches, or heavy wooden clubs. This arrangement reduced the chance that a predator could isolate the weakest person with one sudden attack. Ancient humans also avoided spreading too far apart, because a lone individual was much easier to ambush than a closely organized group. They watched the wind carefully, since it could carry human scent toward an animal, or bring the animal's scent toward them. Hunters approaching prey often stayed downwind, but the same knowledge helped them avoid accidentally surprising dangerous predators. People learned where animals normally hunted, rested, drank, and raised their young, then changed their routes during the most dangerous times. They understood that an animal protecting food or offspring could be far more aggressive than one simply passing through. This knowledge was shared through stories, warnings, and memories of earlier attacks, allowing the entire group to learn from one person's experience. A survivor could explain where the animal appeared, how it behaved, and which response gave others enough time to escape. Over generations, ancient humans built a mental map of danger, filled with risky paths, hidden dens, water holes, and places where predators waited. Their greatest advantage was not that they stopped feeling fear, but that fear made them watch more carefully and prepare before danger appeared. Yet even the best observation could fail, and when a predator finally stepped from the grass, survival depended on what the entire group did next. The safest animal attack was the one that never began, so ancient humans spent enormous attention detecting danger before it came close. Fresh footprints could reveal not only the species nearby, but also its size, direction, speed, and how recently it had passed. Sharp edges around a track suggested recent movement, while softened prints covered by dust or leaves were usually much older. A deep paw mark might indicate a heavy predator, while smaller tracks nearby could warn that a mother was traveling with young. That made the area especially dangerous, because animals protecting their offspring could attack even when they were not hungry. Droppings offered another warning, revealing what the animal had eaten and whether it might still be somewhere close. Fresh remains could appear moist, dark, or surrounded by active insects, while older signs became dry and scattered. Hair caught on thorns, claw marks on bark, and strong smells helped people identify animals even when footprints disappeared. A tree scratched high above the ground could reveal the size of a bear or large cat using the area. Bones and carcasses were even more serious clues, because they could mark a feeding place visited repeatedly by predators. Ancient humans rarely walked directly toward a fresh kill, since the animal might be resting nearby or waiting for scavengers to approach. They stopped at a distance, checked the wind, searched the surrounding cover, and listened before deciding whether to continue. Wind direction mattered because scent traveled ahead of sight, giving either humans or predators the first warning. When the wind blew from the animal toward the group, people might smell danger before the creature detected them. When it blew from the group toward the animal, the predator could notice human scent and react before anyone saw it. Ancient travelers therefore adjusted their route whenever possible, using the wind to reduce the chance of a sudden encounter. They were especially careful around tall grass, thick bushes, narrow ravines, and rocky passages where visibility was limited. These places gave ambush predators cover, allowing them to approach much closer before launching an attack. Open ground was often safer because humans could see danger earlier and organize themselves before the animal reached them. Water sources demanded constant caution, since many predators knew that thirsty animals and humans would eventually come there. People searched muddy banks for crocodile slides, large paw prints, disturbed reeds, and paths repeatedly used by dangerous animals. They avoided kneeling alone at the water's edge, where a hidden predator could strike before the victim stood up. One person might collect water, while others watched the riverbank, vegetation, and surrounding ground with weapons ready. Caves were examined from outside because darkness could hide bears, cats, snakes, or other animals using them as shelter. People threw stones, pushed long branches inside, made loud sounds, or sent smoke toward the entrance before stepping closer. An empty cave often showed different signs from an occupied one, including fresh tracks, strong odor, bones, fur, or disturbed soil. Ancient humans also listened to other animals, because birds and prey species often detected predators before people could. Repeated alarm calls moving through the trees could reveal the path of a hidden animal approaching through the forest. When grazing animals suddenly raised their heads and stared in one direction, people immediately searched the same area. A forest becoming silent without warning could be more frightening than a roar, because silence meant many creatures had already noticed something. Experienced members recognized which warnings were ordinary and which meant the group should stop, gather together, or leave immediately. Children and vulnerable members were moved toward the center, while adults faced outward and searched every direction. The group did not need to see the predator clearly before responding, because waiting for certainty could remove their final chance to avoid it. Most successful encounters ended with humans quietly changing direction, while the dangerous animal remained hidden and unaware. Avoidance might look less heroic than fighting, but it saved energy, prevented wounds, and protected the entire group from unnecessary risk. Ancient humans survived because they understood that courage did not mean walking toward danger when nature had already warned them away. But when warning signs came too late and a predator finally appeared, their next defense was becoming something no animal wanted to face alone. When a predator finally appeared, ancient humans did not survive by scattering, because running alone could turn each person into an easier target. The group moved closer together, creating a larger shape that looked more difficult and dangerous than a collection of frightened individuals. Children, injured people, and older members were pulled toward the center, while stronger adults formed a defensive line around them. This simple formation forced the animal to face several humans at once, instead of isolating the weakest person near the edge. Adults raised spears, branches, and clubs above their heads, making the group appear taller and more threatening from a distance. They shouted, stamped their feet, struck weapons together, and filled the air with sudden noise intended to confuse or intimidate the predator. Many dangerous animals preferred prey that looked isolated, uncertain, or easy to overpower without risking serious injury. A tightly organized group carrying sharp objects presented a different problem, because even a successful attack could leave the predator badly wounded. Ancient humans understood this without studying animal psychology, simply because repeated encounters showed which reactions caused predators to hesitate. Turning away and running could trigger pursuit, while facing the animal together sometimes made it stop and reconsider the attack. People tried to keep their bodies facing outward, watching several directions in case more than one predator surrounded the group. This was especially important with wolves, hyenas, or other social hunters that could test the defense from different sides. Long wooden spears gave humans a crucial advantage by placing sharp points between their bodies and the animal's teeth or claws. The strongest members held these spears forward, creating a moving wall that was difficult to approach without being injured. Others stood behind them with stones ready, allowing the group to attack from a distance before the predator reached the line. A well-thrown stone could strike the face, nose, or body, surprising the animal and interrupting the rhythm of its charge. Several people throwing together created more confusion than one person could produce, especially when the animal faced noise from every direction. Burning branches added another layer of defense, combining heat, smoke, bright movement, and unfamiliar smell in front of the group. One person might keep the fire alive, while others protected the edges, ensuring that the group did not lose its strongest nighttime barrier. Ancient humans could also move backwards slowly toward rocks, trees, fire, or higher ground without breaking the defensive formation. The goal was rarely to chase the animal away forever, because reaching a safer position was usually enough to end the encounter. Large trees could protect one side of the group, while cliffs or boulders reduced the number of directions an animal could attack from. Narrow passages could be dangerous during travel, but during defense they sometimes prevented a predator from circling behind the humans. Every person needed to understand the group's movement, because one panicked runner could create an opening that endangered everyone else. This required trust, built through daily cooperation, shared hunting, repeated warnings, and earlier encounters with dangerous animals. People who had survived previous attacks probably took the front positions, guiding younger members through gestures, commands, and example. They knew when to shout, when to hold still, when to advance together, and when to retreat without exposing anyone. The group also watched the animal's body closely, because lowered posture, flattened ears, growling, or circling could reveal its next movement. A predator stepping backward might still be testing the defense, so ancient humans remained organized until it disappeared completely. They did not relax simply because the animal paused, since many hunters waited for fear or confusion to break the formation. Once the danger moved away, the group stayed together and left the area rather than following or provoking it unnecessarily. Cooperation transformed several vulnerable humans into one coordinated defensive force equipped with reach, noise, fire, and shared attention. The predator no longer faced a slow individual without claws, but an organized wall of spear points capable of striking from several directions. Yet numbers alone were not enough, because the group's survival also depended on the tools, fire, and shelters prepared before the encounter began. Fire was one of the strongest defenses ancient humans possessed, because many predators hesitated when faced with heat, smoke, light, and unfamiliar movement. At night, a burning campfire created a visible boundary between the sleeping group and animals waiting beyond the darkness. People kept the flames alive for as long as possible, especially in places where large predators were known to hunt after sunset. Dry wood was gathered before darkness, because searching for fuel at night could separate someone from the safety of the group. Several smaller fires could surround a camp more effectively than one central flame, reducing the number of dark paths available to approaching animals. Burning branches could be lifted and moved toward a predator, creating bright sparks, smoke, and heat directly in front of its face. Even when an animal did not fear fire completely, the sudden movement of flames could interrupt an attack and create time to retreat. Smoke also carried human scent across a wider area, warning many animals that a large group occupied the camp. Ancient humans probably learned through experience which species avoided fire and which hungry or desperate predators might still approach. They never depended on flames alone, because rain, strong wind, or wet wood could weaken the fire when protection was needed most. Weapons therefore remained close at hand, with spears, clubs, stones, and sharpened tools placed beside sleeping areas. A long spear allowed a person to threaten an animal without bringing the body close to claws, teeth, or powerful jaws. Wooden points could be hardened in fire, while later stone tips made the weapon sharper and more capable of causing serious injury. The spear was valuable not only because it could kill, but because it created distance and forced the predator to hesitate. Heavy clubs were useful at close range, especially when several people struck together at the head, legs, or body. Sharp stone tools were dangerous in direct combat, but using them required getting extremely close to the attacking animal. For this reason, throwing stones and thrusting spears were usually safer than trying to wrestle with a powerful predator. Ancient humans also prepared piles of stones near camps, allowing defenders to respond quickly without searching the ground during an emergency. Children could pass stones or firewood toward adults, giving even vulnerable members a useful role in the defense. Shelter location mattered just as much as weapons, because a well-chosen camp reduced the chance of surprise attacks. Open ground gave people a clearer view of approaching animals, while dense bushes allowed predators to hide dangerously close. A cliff, large boulder, or rock wall could protect one side of the camp and reduce the number of directions requiring guards. Caves offered strong shelter from weather, but they were used carefully because other animals might already live inside. Before occupying a cave, people checked for tracks, bones, droppings, fur, scratches, and strong smells near the entrance. Smoke could be sent inside first, while loud sounds and thrown stones tested whether anything dangerous moved within the darkness. Trees sometimes provided emergency escape routes, although climbing was not equally effective against every predator. Higher ground improved visibility and made it harder for hidden animals to approach without being seen or heard. Ancient camps were often arranged so that sleeping people remained near the fire, while alert adults rested closer to the outside. Some group members likely stayed awake in turns, listening for movement and feeding the flames while everyone else slept. Food created another serious risk because the smell of meat, blood, bones, and discarded remains could attract predators from far away. Ancient humans kept fresh kills away from sleeping areas whenever possible and avoided leaving scraps scattered around the camp. Bones and waste could be burned, buried, carried away, or abandoned far from the place where children and injured people rested. Hunters returning with meat remained alert because predators sometimes followed the scent trail directly back toward human shelter. A successful hunt could therefore make the camp more dangerous unless the group managed the food quickly and carefully. Fire, weapons, shelter, and camp organization worked together, creating several layers of defense instead of depending on one uncertain protection. But even the strongest camp could fail, and when an animal crossed every barrier, survival depended on how people fought and protected the wounded. When an animal crossed every warning, barrier, and defensive line, ancient humans had only moments to react before the attack became deadly. The first goal was to stay together, because panic could break the formation and give the predator an isolated person to chase. Adults faced the animal with spears raised, while others pulled children, injured people, and anyone who had fallen back toward the center. Running in different directions might have saved one person, but it usually made the entire group easier to attack one by one. Ancient humans tried to keep the animal in front of them, avoiding blind movement through grass, darkness, or uneven ground. If the predator charged, several spear points could be lowered together, forcing it toward a wall of sharp wood and stone. A single person might be knocked aside, but several defenders pushing from different angles could slow the animal or redirect its attack. Those standing behind the spear line threw stones toward the face, nose, and eyes, where even a powerful animal remained vulnerable. Burning branches were moved close to the head, filling the animal's vision with flame, smoke, sparks, and sudden movement. The goal was not always to kill the predator, because forcing it to hesitate for a few seconds could allow the group to retreat. Ancient humans used every nearby advantage, moving toward rocks, trees, narrow passages, steep slopes, or deeper firelight. A large boulder protected their backs, while a narrow opening prevented the animal from circling and attacking from several directions. If someone fell, the others could not simply stop and gather around, because that would expose everyone to the next charge. Some defenders continued facing the predator, while others pulled the fallen person backward by the arms, legs, or clothing. This division of roles allowed the group to protect the victim without abandoning the defensive line completely. When a predator grabbed someone, the group responded with noise, stones, spears, clubs, and fire, instead of waiting for the attack to end. Several people striking together could overwhelm the animal's attention, making it release the victim to protect its own face and body. The nose and eyes were important targets because they were sensitive, exposed, and difficult for the animal to defend during close combat. People also aimed at the mouth or neck when possible, though approaching those areas placed them dangerously close to teeth and claws. Against a snake, the response was different, because distance and careful movement mattered more than creating a loud defensive wall. Against crocodiles near water, survival depended on pulling the victim away quickly before the animal dragged them into deeper water. Against large cats or bears, staying grouped and using long weapons offered a better chance than wrestling at close range. Ancient humans learned that different animals required different responses, and confusing one threat with another could make the situation worse. Survivors remembered how each animal moved, whether it attacked from behind, defended a carcass, or stopped when confronted by many people. Once the predator retreated, the group did not immediately chase it, because an injured animal could turn and attack again without warning. They remained together, watched the surrounding cover, and moved the wounded person toward the safest available shelter. After the danger ended, bleeding became the next threat, especially when deep bites or claws had damaged large blood vessels. Ancient humans pressed cloth, hide, leaves, or hands firmly against wounds to reduce blood loss as quickly as possible. Broken limbs could be supported with straight branches and bindings, preventing further movement during the journey back to camp. Wounds were cleaned with available water, while dirt, teeth fragments, fur, or pieces of clothing were removed when possible. Some plants may have been used to reduce pain, swelling, or infection, although their effectiveness varied between regions and traditions. The injured person needed food, warmth, protection, and time, which meant the entire group had to share the cost of recovery. Archaeological evidence shows that some ancient individuals survived serious injuries that would have made hunting and traveling difficult for long periods. Their survival suggests that companions carried food, guarded them, and allowed them to heal, instead of abandoning them after the attack. This care mattered because defeating the animal was only half the struggle, while keeping the wounded alive could take weeks or months. Every survivor became a source of knowledge, explaining what happened, which defense worked, and how the next encounter might be avoided. Through these painful lessons, ancient humans gradually became more prepared, more organized, and far more dangerous to the predators around them. Ancient humans never became stronger than lions, bears, or crocodiles, but they became far better at sharing information and acting together. A dangerous animal faced more than one body because it faced a group connected by warning calls, gestures, memory, and a common plan. One person could notice tracks, another could read the wind, and someone else could remember where the safest escape route was located. This shared awareness allowed the group to prepare before the predator understood that the humans had already detected its presence. Every encounter added new information about when animals hunted, where they hid, how they charged, and what made them retreat. A survivor of a leopard attack could warn others to watch the trees, while someone who escaped a crocodile taught children to avoid muddy water edges. Stories preserved these lessons, turning painful events into warnings that protected people who had never faced the same danger themselves. The details mattered because a vague story created fear, while a precise story taught where to stand, when to retreat, and which weapon to raise. Young people learned that tall grass near water was more dangerous than open ground with a clear view in every direction. They learned that predators guarding food behave differently from animals simply passing through the area. They also learned that an injured animal could be more unpredictable, making distance and group discipline even more important. Over time, these lessons changed how camps were built, how hunting groups moved, and where children were allowed to play. People began choosing sleeping places with better visibility, fewer hidden approaches, and easy access to firewood or defensive positions. Weapons were kept closer, fires were maintained more carefully, and dangerous routes were crossed only when enough adults traveled together. Ancient humans also learned to recognize the seasons when predators became hungrier, more territorial, or more protective of their young. During those periods, groups could change their routes, avoid certain water holes, and remain closer to shelter after sunset. This ability to change behavior gave humans an advantage that claws and teeth could not easily overcome. A predator depended heavily on instinct, while humans could discuss a failure and deliberately choose a different strategy next time. They could create stronger spear points, place more fires around camp, or assign additional watchers after a dangerous encounter. Each improvement was small, but generations of small improvements transformed humans from vulnerable prey into risky opponents. Predators gradually encountered groups that carried fire, threw stones, protected one another, and remembered every earlier attack. An animal might still kill a person, but approaching humans became far more dangerous than attacking an isolated grazing animal. Humans could also return later in larger numbers, following tracks and driving a repeated threat away from the camp. This meant predators faced something unusual because the humans they attacked could plan beyond the immediate moment. Ancient humans were still afraid, and that fear remained useful because it kept them alert around water, caves, darkness, and dense cover. Courage did not mean feeling nothing because it meant staying organized while every instinct demanded panic and escape. The group transformed fear into raised spears, burning branches, warning cries, and a circle protecting the people in the center. Their survival depended less on individual heroism than on whether everyone trusted the others to hold their position. A lone human was slow, fragile, and poorly armed compared with the largest predators sharing the landscape. But several humans standing together became a new kind of animal, one capable of extending its reach with tools and multiplying its strength through cooperation. Fire frightened, spears created distance, stones attacked from afar, and language allowed every defender to move with the same purpose. After the attack, the same cooperation continued through carrying the wounded, sharing food, guarding the shelter, and remembering what had happened. This is why humans survived a world filled with teeth and claws, without ever growing the strongest body within it. They survived because knowledge moved between minds, preparation began before danger arrived, and no vulnerable person had to face the predator alone. In the ancient world, the greatest weapon was not the spear held in one hand, but the circle of people refusing to break around it.